Let me tell you something. Men don't regret losing a good woman right away. At first, they think they've got all the time in the world. But when you start moving differently, when you shift your energy, when you stop chasing, when you take back your power, suddenly he feels that loss in ways he never imagined. Today, I'm going to share 7 powerful things that make him regret letting you go. And when you do these, trust me, he won't just think about you. He'll wish he never lost you in the first place. When you stop pouring all your energy into him, that's when he starts to notice the difference. See, most men get comfortable with the way you give, the way you care, the way you show up every single time they call. They think it's just who you are, not realizing it's actually a choice you've been making to invest in him, to show up for him, to love him fully. But here's the thing, when you pull that energy back, you're not punishing him, you're reminding him that your presence was a privilege, not a guarantee. Think about how much of yourself you've been giving, texting first, making the plans, checking in, worrying about what he's feeling, even when he's not giving you the same in return. That energy is powerful, and when it's directed at someone, it fuels them. It makes them feel important, needed, validated. But the second you stop giving it away to someone who isn't appreciating it, the entire dynamic shifts. He goes from being full to suddenly feeling empty, and that emptiness makes him realize that what you brought to his life can't be replaced. Pulling back your energy isn't about ignoring him or playing games. It's about realignment. It's about saying, I deserve to give this love, this effort, this time, to someone who sees it, values it, and matches it. You're not cutting him off because you're bitter. You're creating distance because you finally recognize the cost of giving so much to someone who's giving you so little. That's when the regret starts to set in. See, regret doesn't hit a man when you're still there, still texting, still checking in, still trying to prove yourself. Regret hits when you're no longer available in the way you used to be. Regret hits when he sends that message and you don't rush to reply. Regret hits when he realizes you're not rearranging your whole day just to fit into his schedule. It's the quiet shift of energy that screams louder than any words ever could. What you'll notice is, when you start pulling back, he'll test you. He'll reach out just to see if you're still there, if he still has access to that energy. And this is where your power comes in, because the old version of you would have dropped everything, would have answered right away, would have bent just to keep the connection alive, but the version of you now understands that his comfort can't come at the cost of your peace. And the more consistent you are with protecting your energy, the clearer the message becomes, you're no longer his safety net. This is when he starts looking around and realizing the difference. Because let's be honest, people don't forget genuine energy. They might take it for granted while they have it, but once it's gone, nothing else feels the same. He'll notice that other people don't laugh like you do, don't listen like you did, don't give the kind of care that came naturally to you. And suddenly, what he thought was just normal becomes rare. That's the moment regret sets in deep. And the beauty of it is, you didn't have to chase, you didn't have to beg, you didn't have to prove anything. You simply stopped handing out your energy like it was free, and you let him experience the silence, the space, the absence of you. That's when he realizes you weren't just someone who filled his time, you were someone who filled his life. So when you pull back your energy, you're not just changing how you move with him, you're changing how you move with yourself. You're sending the message that your value isn't tied to how much you give, but to how much you choose to protect. And that shift right there, that's exactly what makes him regret losing you. When a man sees you start to glow up without him, that's when the reality of what he lost starts to sink in. Because here's the truth. Most men assume you'll sit still after they leave. They think you'll stay stuck in the pain, that you'll spend your days thinking about them, waiting for them, hoping they'll come back. They don't expect you to rise. They don't expect you to shine brighter than ever before, and when you do, it rattles them to the core. A glow up isn't just about changing how you look. It's not only the hair, the style, the way you carry yourself, it's the way you elevate every part of your life. It's in how you choose to invest in your mind, your body, your spirit. It's in how you decide that heartbreak won't be the end of you, it'll be the beginning of a stronger, wiser, more confident version of you. That transformation, that undeniable growth, makes him see you in a light he never did before. And the sting of regret comes with the thought, she's doing all this, and it's not for me anymore. Because when you glow up, you stop living in reaction to him and start living in alignment with you. You stop wondering what he's doing, and you start focusing on what you're building. You put energy into your health, your career, your goals, your friendships. You start thriving in places he never thought you would. And it's not about proving him wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were always capable. You just finally stopped holding yourself back. What happens is he begins to notice the little things. Maybe he sees you looking more confident, walking with a different posture, smiling in pictures he's no longer a part of. Maybe he hears from mutual friends that you've been traveling, achieving, stepping into opportunities. And that's when the shift hits him. The woman he thought would stay the same is now unrecognizable, and she's outgrowing the version of him she once needed. That realization is heavy. Regret shows up in subtle ways. It shows up when he scrolls through his phone late at night and sees you shining in a life he can no longer touch. It shows up when he compares you to whoever he's around now and realizes they don't measure up. It shows up when he remembers how you used to give him your best, and now you're giving that energy to yourself. That's when the weight of losing you really sets in. And here's what makes it powerful. You didn't glow up to get his attention. You didn't do it to make him jealous. You did it because you refused to stay small. You chose yourself, and in doing that, you became magnetic. The irony is, the moment you stop trying to make him see your worth, that's the moment he finally sees it clearer than ever before. Your glow up isn't about revenge, it's about rebirth. It's about showing up every day in ways that remind you of your own strength. And when he realizes that he lost you not at your best, but before you even reached your peak, that's the kind of regret that stays with him for a long time. So, when you glow up without him, you're not just living better, you're making it impossible for him to ever forget what he walked away from. One of the biggest shifts happens when you start setting boundaries with confidence. Because for so long, maybe you let things slide. Maybe you told yourself it wasn't a big deal, or you didn't want to rock the boat, or you thought being patient would somehow make him step up. But what really happens when you keep ignoring your own boundaries is you start teaching him that he can get away with it. And the moment you flip that script, the moment you stop tolerating what doesn't sit right with you, that's when he starts to feel the weight of what he's about to lose. Boundaries aren't walls. They're not about shutting people out. They're about teaching people how to treat you. And when you stand firm in them, you're no longer saying, I hope you'll respect me. You're saying, I respect myself enough to not accept less. That kind of energy is magnetic, but it's also intimidating because it makes him realize he can't come at you with the same excuses, the same patterns, the same half effort he once relied on. Think about how powerful it is when you no longer entertain the late night calls, when you stop letting him cancel plans last minute, when you don't let him dismiss your feelings like they don't matter. At first, he may push back. He may test you because he's used to the old version of you who would bend, who would forgive quickly, who would shrink just to keep the peace. But when you don't flinch, when you calmly stand your ground, he starts to recognize something he didn't before. Losing you means losing access to someone who not only gave, but also believed in him. And now that belief comes with standards. And that's where regret builds. Because boundaries aren't just about protecting your time and your energy. They reveal the depth of your worth. A man may not notice how valuable that is when he has it easy, but when he sees that you will no longer compromise, it forces him to look at himself differently. It forces him to realize that he was careless with something rare. The truth is, confident boundaries make people respect you whether they like it or not. And for him, it stings, because he remembers when he could cross the line and you'd let it slide. Now, every time he tries and you hold firm, he feels the distance between who you were and who you've become. And with that distance comes the realization, you're no longer operating from fear of losing him, you're operating from certainty that losing you would be his biggest mistake. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. Boundaries don't need to be shouted. They're felt in the way you say no without guilt, in the way you don't explain yourself over and over, in the way you stop negotiating with disrespect. And while he might act like it doesn't bother him, deep down, it does. Because every boundary you uphold is a reminder that you've grown beyond the version of yourself that tolerated his behavior. And here's the thing, when a man realizes he can't play the same games with you anymore, that's when the regret becomes real. Because it's not just that he lost you, it's that he lost the chance to keep the version of you who once gave him grace after grace. Now you're stronger, clearer, and more confident in what you deserve. And that's exactly why he'll regret losing you. There is nothing more powerful than a woman who learns how to be genuinely happy without him. Because the truth is, happiness is energy, and when that energy is no longer tied to whether he texts you back, whether he shows up, whether he chooses you, everything changes. For so long, maybe your joy was connected to him. The little things he did could make your whole day, and the things he didn't do could break it. And he got used to that. He got used to being the center of your emotional world. But when you take that power back, when you decide that your peace and joy belong to you, he feels the shift in ways he cannot ignore. Happiness without him doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. It doesn't mean you weren't hurt. It means you refuse to stay stuck in pain. It means you choose to create moments that light you up regardless of what he does. You start going out with friends again. You dive into hobbies you left behind. You focus on your goals, your health, your passions. You laugh freely, not because he gave you a reason, but because you gave yourself permission. And let me tell you, nothing makes a man regret losing you more than seeing that you're thriving in a world where he thought you would crumble. See, when he expected you to sit around waiting, when he thought your nights would be filled with missing him, when he assumed you wouldn't know how to move on, your joy destroys that narrative. Because your joy says, I'm not defined by who stays or who leaves. I'm defined by the way I choose to live. And when he realizes he no longer controls your happiness, that's when he starts to feel the weight of his absence. It's the little things that sting him most. The way your smile in pictures looks real, not forced. The way your energy in a room feels lighter than it used to. The way you laugh with others. The way you glow. The way you move like you've been set free. He'll notice it. And deep down he'll know, it's not that you forgot him, it's that you no longer need him to feel alive. That's the kind of regret that gnaws at someone, because it forces them to admit they weren't the source of your light. They were just standing close to it. And don't mistake it, he may try to come back around once he feels it. He may test the waters, throw out a message, act curious about your life. But the difference now is that your happiness doesn't pause when his name pops up. It doesn't shrink when he reappears. Because you've built it on something stronger, yourself. And that's the part he can't compete with. He can't undo the fact that you found joy beyond him, and that's what makes him regret walking away. This isn't about showing off. It's not about pretending to be happy just so he sees it. That's shallow, and it doesn't last. True regret comes from authenticity. When your joy is real, when your glow comes from healing, from growth, from loving your own life again, that's when it hits him the hardest. Because he knows it's not a performance. It's genuine. and that's something he can't touch anymore. So when you decide that your happiness isn't up for negotiation, that it doesn't belong to anyone but you create a freedom that radiates. And that freedom will be the very thing that makes him regret losing you. There's something about moving with mystery that shakes a man more than anything else. Because when he had you, he probably got used to knowing everything. He knew your schedule, your routine, your thoughts, your feelings. Because you gave it all so freely. You explained yourself when you didn't have to. You justified your choices even when they made sense. You kept him updated on where you were, what you were doing, how you were feeling. And he got comfortable in that certainty. But the moment you stop giving him that access, the moment you stop narrating your life for him, he starts to wonder. And that wondering is where regret begins to grow. Mystery isn't about playing games or trying to make him jealous. It's about reclaiming your privacy, your independence, and your peace. It's about moving in silence, making choices for yourself without feeling like you owe anyone an explanation. When he no longer has a front row seat to your every move, he has to sit with questions he doesn't have the answers to. Who are you with? What are you doing? Are you thinking about him? Does he still matter? And the more he doesn't know, the more he realizes how much he once took for granted, the access he had to your world. And here's the thing, mystery creates curiosity, and curiosity creates regret. Because while he's trying to piece together what you're up to, he starts replaying the moments when you were open, when you were vulnerable, when you let him all the way in. He remembers how freely you trusted him, and now that you're no longer so accessible, he begins to understand the value of that trust. That's when it stings, because mystery reminds him that he's not entitled to your life anymore, and that absence of detail makes him feel the full weight of losing you. What's powerful is how subtle it can be. You don't have to announce anything. You don't have to prove a point. You simply stop oversharing. You stop answering questions he no longer has the right to ask. You start smiling without explaining why. You go out and live your life, and the only thing he sees is the glow without the backstory. That silence speaks louder than any words you could have said. And what usually happens is he'll reach for some kind of control. He'll poke, he'll test, he'll casually ask questions just to see if you'll give him information. But when you hold your peace, when you give short answers or no answers at all, he feels the gap between what he used to know and what he knows now. And that gap eats at him because it forces him to imagine, and imagination often feels worse than reality. He starts to picture you moving on. He starts to wonder if someone else is making you laugh, if someone else is holding your attention. And that wondering keeps him awake because he realizes he no longer has access to the version of you that gave it all away. The beauty of mystery is that it shifts the dynamic back to your favor. Instead of you chasing reassurance from him, he's now chasing answers from you. Instead of you proving your worth, he's left questioning his place. And that imbalance creates one thing he never expected to feel: regret. So when you stop explaining yourself, when you move with mystery, when you let him wonder instead of always knowing, you make him experience the loss of certainty. And that's exactly what makes him regret losing you. One of the hardest but most powerful things you can ever do is become unavailable to his games. Because let's be honest, some men don't really regret losing you until they realize they can't reach you the same way they used to. They know how to pull on your emotions. They know the right words to say, the right moments to come back, the right tricks to make you second guess yourself. And for a while, those things probably worked. Maybe disappear and then show up just enough to reel you back in. Maybe he'd give you crumbs of attention, and you'd hold on, hoping it meant something real. Maybe he played hot and cold because he knew you cared too much to walk away. But when you stop falling for it, when you finally refuse to entertain the cycle, that's when regret hits him the hardest. Being unavailable to his games doesn't mean you become cold or cruel. It means you stop giving your time, energy, and emotions to patterns that have already proven they lead nowhere. It's about recognizing when his words don't match his actions, when his effort doesn't match his promises, and saying to yourself, I don't have to keep participating in this. That choice alone is powerful because it shifts the control away from him and back into your hands. See, a man will often test if he still has access to you. He might text after weeks of silence just to see if you respond the way you used to. He might bring up old memories, knowing they'll stir something inside you. He might even pretend like he's changed, just enough to spark your hope. But the difference now is that you see it for what it is. You see the pattern, and instead of being pulled in, you stand still. And when he realizes that his old tactics no longer work on you, that's when the regret creeps in. It stings him because he remembers when he could get your attention without trying, when a single call could pull you back, when he could treat you with less than you deserved and still count on you being there. But now, you're different. Now you don't jump when he calls. Now, you don't rearrange your life for his half effort. Now, you don't let him play with your emotions like they're toys. And that's when the regret becomes real, because it forces him to face the truth that he doesn't have the same power over you anymore. And the beautiful thing is, this isn't about revenge. You're not shutting him out just to hurt him. You're simply choosing peace over chaos. You're choosing consistency over confusion. You're choosing respect over games. And in doing that, you send the loudest message possible. You're no longer an option for his nonsense. What makes him regret losing you isn't just that you walked away. It's that you walked away with your dignity intact. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You didn't lower your standards just to keep him around. You chose yourself, and by doing that, you broke the cycle he thought would last forever. So when you finally become unavailable to his games, you don't just close a door. You remind him of everything he lost when he failed to value you. And that's exactly why he'll regret losing you.